Hey guys, what is going on? So we are on Tuesday market breakdown, and I am filming this for probably the third time just because I got interrupted every single time. And yeah, so hopefully this time it's third time lucky. So looking at the DXY, we are currently looking pretty okay. Looks like it could potentially be a larger correction, so I would be very much aware of something like this. Just forming to be continuation to the downside. However, we are coming from somewhat of a good area of interest. We're retesting this level. We've kind of tapped into this point and we started moving. On the daily, we can see that we are kind of moving with a bit of good momentum at the moment, but it is corrective on the lower time frame, so we just have to be aware of that. But it can start off very corrective, and then one big impulsive candle can change everything. So just stay sharp for this, because if this does start to turn around, then we can see some very good movement towards the upside. JP225 looks like we could potentially be beginning that sell-off. I don't like this corrective sort of beginning to this, though. It's not really what kind of just makes me excited about this. It just looks like a very corrective price action. However, if we do get the sell-off, we'll take the message from the market, and yeah, we'll just see how that goes. I mean, sometimes these moves do start off like that, but if we stick to, let's say, the daily, it's not so bad. We might just see that drop off. All of a sudden we're down here and we just continue going, and then next thing you know, we're down here with aggression. So it can just start off a little bit corrective and then go. So where we're looking at in structure, I would understand that we've cleared that low now. Not completely, actually, we cleared it quite correctively, but we're clearing it in this moment in time. If we get that push away, it could be exciting stuff. GBP Aussie. So GBP Aussie, I actually did get a trade in here and I did film it, and I think I deleted it now, didn't I? Great. So the trade was actually, if I just zoom in a little bit more and I replay this, it was more so over here. And in this section here, I was able to capture a 3% position. So we had the 1, 2, 3. I think it's clearer when you look at it in the 4 hour. I think it was a 4 hour, yeah. The 4 hour, we can see that we had this sort of point over here, leading up into this section, where this is what kind of made it interesting for me. And then I saw this and then I was like, oh, okay, that looks interesting, let's see if we get anything. And then on the 5 we can see, on the 15, sorry, we can then see a little bit more refinement that we had this, and this was where it became a little bit more interesting. I thought this is where I could probably find an AFT, and we weren't given that entry immediately, and this position was actually completely a mistake of a position, and I took a position over here. Complete mistake of a position where I was looking at it as a high over here, and then for some reason I had this trade in over here, and I don't know why I took this position, but yeah, so essentially as we went, we pushed a little bit further down at that point, and then 3% just tagged me in there. I don't know why. I mean, I closed it manually just because it was a bit silly, and that was basically it. I think it was more so actually around about here, because I do remember it was 3% locked in just above here, actually, to be honest. So just kind of looking at it, whatever it was just a bad position. It was invalid, completely invalid, and I accept that. I was fortunate to come out with a profit, but yeah, completely invalid position, and then behold, we just kind of flew up. And as we flew, I think actually now that I understand it, yes, it was over here. It wasn't that little bit over here, it was over here. I don't even know where it was it, do I? And the position was something like that. Perhaps, maybe, I think it was more so like this. And then I asked I think it came back to the retracer, and that's why. And then I had something like this on the table. It would have been just around about here. And I took this position based upon that, where I saw it kind of coming back. I would have entered the market there. And then as we had this is where I kind of entered. And then as we had that 1 hour retrace, I think this is when one of my friends messaged me and was like, hey, and I was like, oh yeah, I did take that trade. I thought I closed it as a break even, but fortunately I made a profit on it. So it's 3%, and then I was tagged out somewhere during my sleep period, which was over here. And yeah, essentially that was it. So I'm quite happy with that position. Not happy in the sense that I took an invalid position, but happy that it played out to give me a little bit of a profit at least, and then understand that I wouldn't take a position like that ever again. Understanding that we had that 4-hour wick there as well, more than likely we filled it, and then we always understood we had this little inflection point over here. We tapped into that, and now it looks like there's a possibility for an entry over here. So I missed this, I guess, if there was any trade, and I would have probably refined a little bit closer. Probably wouldn't have taken anything just there. Perhaps, yeah, over here there's probably a decent trade actually, to be honest. I would have slapped in a reduced risk over here if this shapes up a little bit more. And yeah, I would have waited a little bit, and there isn't actually a trade now. If that shaped up to be a decent flag, would have been, but there's no trade there as yet. Still hovering in this area. Yeah, there's nothing to really analyze at that point. It just doesn't look like a price is going to reject here. It just looks very corrective, but we are squeezing back up. Squeezing. This is interesting. And then we'll just wait, and then we just kind of smash through that. So I think perhaps maybe as we came into this zone here, you could have dug into that, but nah, there's no trade there for me at all. Wouldn't touch that, not for me. So yeah, GA, not really one. You can probably see there's a lot of stuff on here. I just kind of want to keep them in the background, not really trading them. These are the ones that I'm looking at, but those are just there because I've analyzed them, and more so for the learning and the back testing, just having a bit of fun with back testing whilst I'm just not trading, just back testing on the side. So we have NJ, which I actually currently have a position on, which I'm running 1.6% on at the moment, and the position was taken, oh gosh, why do I not save these on my charts? Let me just quickly double check that. That is at price entered 87.73, so just roughly around about, it would have been on the 1 hour retrace, I believe. No, just over here. Okay, so that would be it in that region there, and I believe it was taken just about here. So we had 2 bottoms, and then we had the 2 tops. That completed my formation off the pattern that I was looking for. We had a break below all of this price action up here, which I really did like. Then I used the confluence of the JP225 to see how the JP225 is performing. And this kind of looked like it came up for that right shoulder, left shoulder sort of feel. Clearer on the line chart, you can see like you had the left, right, and then we just had this to just re-go, and then we just smashed through. With that impulse, I was kind of inclined. I did see this on the hourly, and I was looking at it with this sort of, is this just one big corrective squeeze to go higher? But then given to where it was in structure, I kind of thought, okay, let's just wait and see what happens, right? We haven't got a clear 1, 2, 3 into anything yet. We could trade into this low before we see it even come back up. There's enough room to manage it. Let's wait and see. Then we had that, and then currently that should be around 1.6, yeah. So, 4. Oops, that was not, and I believe I did take a 0.5% trade on this, so I did take less, just because it did hold a bit of risk to it. In my opinion, I didn't want to just jump into the trade, but there was a good trade up here for sure. I mean, would I have wanted to take this trade though? It's just one of those ones where I think it just kind of had me a bit, you know, that's nice. It looks good, and I think it played out well, but I just wanted that impulse and then something a bit more like this. Just smacked my headphone. And yeah, that's it. So we're here now. And essentially, yeah, so if I did kind of size that up, it would be roughly around about 1.4 at the moment. I mean, even so, I'm holding a break even at this point. So that would have been the position. Obviously, you can see that it was pointless to have that as a 1% over there, but I had half of that, so it's roughly around about 12, and then that's basically what I'm holding, and that was the position. So if that was a 1% position, it still would have been good, but for some reason I took 0.5. It is what it is, you know, just wanted to protect my account a bit more. And yeah, so essentially we broke below that structure here, and then we started creating something, and this could just go. Looking at it on the bigger time frame, I do like the fact that we've tapped into this. If I just go out to the weekly quickly, we can see that we've come into this area and sold off many times. This time we came into it quite correctively as well, with equal spacing, arcing nature. This could be a clear run into this low here. If I do take that, did I just remove it? I need to stop removing my I need to stop removing my positions. Don't know why I keep doing that. Okay, so that could be a clear run into the low. 90% raw for this as well is what I'm looking at. So let's just open that up a little bit more. And yeah, I'm basically looking this price target here, 35. And then obviously down here, you're looking at 60, which is obviously half of it, 30%. Won't be holding the whole 30%, of course. I'm actually trying to pass a 100k funded challenge at the moment with my forex funds, so we'll see how that goes. I've got some good method that I'm working with. I think I've changed up my management a little bit as well. I've kind of gone aggressive with this sort of 3% lock-in sort of scenario, because on the past 2 weeks now, I went with a test that I wanted to see if I hold a break even to see how deep it goes. Every single time it pulled back. Mad, right? Every single time. So, and it ran to like 6%, I know majority of times 5%, and I just watched it go down and back up, and I kind of just realized, like, more than enough. If I just kept 3%, I would have smashed it. I would have been up like somewhere near 20% this month on just the matter of that alone. And yeah, okay, maybe I did take quite a few trades, some invalid trades. Yes, invalid was closed early, took a small 0.2 0.3% loss, 0.1, but more so the winning trades and the valid ones, which were most of them, yeah, they ran, but I just yeah, it's just, you learn, you move on, we move forward. Euro USD still looking pretty good. I mean, let me invert this for a second so we can see it upside down. It does look like we're getting that correction to continue, right? So we are moving in the same direction, and we just come down here. So that's basically what I'm banking on. That's why I said with the DXY, it's very possible that this just kind of corrects, create something like that, and we move down and we tap that low before we come back up. So understand that that's a possibility. USD yen though, very, very interested in. So we didn't break above on this, but we did tap into it, which is more than enough in some scenarios. But we're moving away correctively. That's what makes me think that with these yen pairs, we might get one more push up before we get a push down. Is this the left shoulder being created? There's so many different things running through my head when I see this. But honestly, that just tap in and sell off, oh, honestly, with the hanging man there, that's something else. So seeing it on the daily, I want to see how this day closes, but more than likely we could be revisiting that again, so I wouldn't just get sucked into it until we see something significant. I think when we sell off, we're going to see a strong push away and a flag like this, right? That's when we get a good indication that the market's ready to move. The DXY is stalling at the moment and we're moving quite correctively. If we are creating that correction, then maybe that could be enough momentum being built in this area before we sell off. It does look like there's the possibility for this expanding in here as well. Are we just creating this momentum for this sort of pattern? I don't know, not my typical middle section as well, but this is not the most progressive nature at the moment, but we're so early in the run, I'm not worried at all. Honestly, let it do its thing, and when it's ready, it's ready. But damn, that pullback was massive, honestly, more than I expected. But when you look at it like this, kind of makes sense, you know, that you look at something. I don't care about this sort of accuracy of this, but when you look at it, it's like, okay, cool. So we're kind of just driving into this section here, and now we're scooping, and then we take this touch, line it up with this one, and we kind of just, you know, we've come into here, we've tapped into the value zone, and now we're selling off. So this is a very valuable area to be in, because if we started moving up aggressively, we'd be up for the bull run to the high, but we're rejecting. So it's now giving us a good indication that we're in for the sell. And if the US JPY is selling off and the JP225 looks like it could be selling off, we could see a lot of selling off throughout the yen pairs. We might get some big aggression coming to the market, and these pairs might be moving pretty good. That's 2%, so that's looking very good. Aussie US dollar. Now I do think Aussie US dollar has massive potential. We have this whole big section over here that we basically cleared and we're coming back into. I do like the fact that now we're trading back below here. This is a very good territory to be looking for shorts now, I'll be very honest with you. I think the fact that the DXY is selling off, we might see something like this. More than likely, we probably wouldn't get that. We'll probably get up halfway and just sell off. We might even and probably worth, by the time you watch this, just looking at it. You might see something like this where the market comes down, pushes back up, and then we sell off from here. And then you're thinking, well, how come we didn't come up to the high? Well, we actually created something internally in here, which this pair is quite usual for doing. And then we saw something like that and it sold off. So don't be surprised if you see stuff like that on this pair, because I see it time and time again that we don't always come up to these points. We just kind of go inside it, create something and sell off. And we can already see that these are separate structures. You know, over here, there's actually its own little piece of structure there. There's its own piece of structure here. And then now we're creating something else. But that's why I said it's possible that we can come up here, all this corrective move gets filled, take out all of that liquidity and then sell off. So that's basically what I'm looking at on AU. Definitely going in for the short there, but we have to understand that this is still in this larger section, and it can play into this bigger time frame sort of theory of, we're in this corrective leg, do we come back and correctively touch this trend line, this one up here, before we sell off? It's possible, but more than likely we'll sell off a bit, create something larger before we even do that, because we have to build the momentum, right? So we've broken below this low with that nice correction there. Now we're trading into this, we're descending into it, which I do like. I like the fact that we're moving in like this nature, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like we could easily just move. And if we get some sort of decent corrections like that, you could look for the counter position right now. You know, I don't think this is the best sort of price action out of all of the pairs we have, but we have to understand that this is so corrective. Look at that equal space there, you know, that corrective sort of correction, push correction into more of a larger correction. There's just so much confluence here for us to look at a short position. I think it's good. Don't get too sucked into the sort of price here, but yeah, if we get a strong push up and we start flagging, you know, you could be in for this monster of a long position as well, and that could play out to be pretty good of a position. It could take a long time though, I'll be honest with you. This pair doesn't look like it moves very quickly. It's a little bit more like a turquoise of the pairs that we have at the moment. Yen pairs are definitely one to keep your attention to though, for sure. Then we have this, where we had this nice little middle section. I was looking for a little bit more progression, but it makes sense now that I look at it why we're stalling, because we have this. Okay, so we have this little bit of price here. So I'm looking at this on the larger time frame for it internal. So we have this as a hook point. We have the 1, 2, 3, and then we had this middle section, and then we came in like this, nice spacing between it, and then we might just correct a little bit further and then go from here. It will take a bit of time to get up there, but it will get up there. So, you know, this is quite nice, because if you look at this now, how are we approaching this area? Well, we're approaching it very correctively. That's one thing I do like. So that's why positioning yourself in this area could be very, very strategic and good. And that's one of the reasons why I think GC is definitely one of the best pairs that we have on board at the moment. And that's basically it for my watch list and wildcards. I don't think it's worth me going into my other pairs, but I'll just quickly tap through them so you can have a little look at what I'm looking at. So we can see that we had this little low here. We kind of just broke below it, and it looks like we're pushing up. I'm going to wait a little bit more to see if this becomes a larger correction or we get a push down. But if we push through it and create a flag like that, for sure, be looking for that long. This one over here, similar to GC, we're kind of breaking the low. We created a 1, 2, 3 to the low, but we haven't yet got that commitment. New Zealand Swiss is looking nice for the long though. We could potentially be getting this large structure to continue the pattern to the low, or this could be the reversal point where we just start creating something a little bit larger and we get in for a good position. So strategically placing yourself in this area could be a very, very smart move, but this pair does like to correct and sit around for a while, so be smart. But yeah, there's more than enough now for this to turn around and go. GBP US dollar, just looking for that larger correction. I think this one will definitely go missed. This is very corrective. It's coming into this sort of point here. We could just see a reversal and it becomes something larger and goes. GBP New Zealand, similar to GC but upside down. So if I just flip it, GBP New Zealand, I said, yep, we can see that we had the expanding, the 1, 2, 3 break below. We didn't quite tap into it just yet, but it seems like we're going now. If we get that momentum and we push through, it is what it is, man. It's going to just make its way back up. So we could see something like this, and then it turns into something larger, or it just becomes that reversal. So that's one thing that I will be keeping my close attention to, GBP New Zealand. But at the moment I'm looking at my New Zealand yen and just going to be waiting patiently to see how that plays out, and then we'll go from there. Same thing, GJ is looking nice. So we're kind of getting some sort of shorting momentum coming in the market on the daily. This could be the beginning of the sell run. I don't fully know yet, but that looks good. We're impulsing away. I really think today's a key day for these yen pairs. Euro New Zealand, it looks like we created the floor there. We're pushing up, and now we could be making our way to the high. B sharp, there could be some nice continuations literally right now in this area here. So it looks more so like we could be coming in for one more low, and then we create that larger flag. But knowing this pair, I wouldn't count on it too much. Could come in there, go there, and then go up, and that could be a nice trade in itself, where we might be able to position ourselves in a counter position to go in for the long. Who knows? We'll see. Euro yen, I just said that I wasn't going to go for all of these tonight. Euro yen, yeah, good stuff. Not really too convinced on this one. I was looking at this to potentially just continue long. It is what it is. We'll just have to wait and see. Euro CAD, squeeze sort of nature. Yeah, kind of 50-50 with it. You know, it's kind of a bit just correction into correction at the moment. Probably daily. Yeah, this could still sell off. I'll just give it some time to develop, see what happens. Perhaps maybe something larger is reforming that I'm not really catching. Nah, I don't know. I'm going to have to really sit down and analyze this one again. I'm going to mark that one as bright blue. I'll come back and analyze it later. CAD Swiss. Yeah, maybe I'll wait for this. If we do get something like that and it comes up and then comes down and then goes up, that could be interesting for the long position. We'll have a little look at the high time frame, and we could see it play to maybe this zone here, or maybe this could be the reversal point where we come back down. So we'll see. It's a bit of a risky one, that one as well. And yeah, Aussie New Zealand is selling off. Wow, honestly. So we are in this good area. I think weekly is probably a better area to stay on, actually. So we can see that we had this 1, 2, 3 equal spacing. We tapped in, we just pushed above. We didn't quite tap into this higher value area, but if we retrace from here and we come all the way back down here, we're back inside this larger pattern. Look at it on the daily, you'd be all trading down here somewhere. It would be very interesting. If we go to the 4 hour quickly, and we see it looked like we were pushing up, creating continuation, but this can still become its own sort of larger flag. So understand that this could become its own sort of, you know, pattern to continue, but more than likely it looks like it's going to sell off. So I'll go to the 15 and have a little look to analyze, and this is where you'd be looking for some sort of flags. I mean, to be honest, not my sort of price action. It's annoying, really, because it looks good, but I just have to say no. It's just me. And then Aussie CAD, last but not least, on the star pairs, we've broken the 90% rule. This was phenomenal off a trade, honestly. And I was analyzing it all the way to the approach, to the break, to the flag. Just didn't take the trade. It's just me. There was multiple opportunities as well for the entry. So we had the 1, 2, 3 squeeze into this sort of liquidity area where we pulled out price, and then we started to reject. As we rejected, we had the 1, 2, 3, we broke, and then we hovered just outside of the trend into the trend, and then we broke below. Over there, this is probably where I think the best trade would have been, and really and truly, and then you would just be smashing through this right now. So management, I would probably be locked in 5, and then just waiting for that to go. Aggressive with the management there for sure, because we're at the 90 rule. This can just retrace, but looking at how it's moving now, it looks like it could be smashing, man. It looks like the beginning of the great move. I think that's probably the creme de la creme, but let's see what happens, man. And then obviously now I'm looking at New Zealand yen, see how that performs. But UJ is looking nice, guys. Honestly, if you guys caught UJ, I'd be very, very interested. I think that retrace candle over there on the 4 hours looking pretty nice as well. Yeah, honestly, it's looking good. So besides that, we'll see how that plays. But GA, I wouldn't really want to get involved in this at all until I see some solid commitment to the downside. But it's not looking like where the shorts are coming into play at the moment. It looks like this, the bulls are taking the market. So let's wait and see how that plays. But for now, I don't think I'm bothered about this one too much. I don't think yeah, I don't think I'll waste my time worrying about it. It looks like we have a small hook point up here, so if we do start pushing up, be aware of this point before we could see a sell-off, maybe retesting the back of this area. But more so these yen pairs, guys, attention on these yen pairs. It could be a monster of a move. So guys, have a good week, and I'll catch you in the next video.